Episode 228. Oops, Boxers Get Boxed. When she had finished taking photos with her colleagues, Philippa turned to look for Alex. But the three strangers approached her. She was taken by surprise as all of them were over 6 feet tall. They all looked very muscular and had long beards. Although they were wearing coats, she could easily see their thick chest muscles. "Hello, please, can I take a picture with you?" one of the men said to her in Spanish. "Certainly," she replied, also in Spanish. She realized that their dialect was a little different from what she had learned. She guessed they must be from Spain, while her language training had been based on the dialect spoken in Mexico. Nevertheless, they could still communicate fairly clearly. "That would be great." The men walked over to her side, and the two who were the closest to her put their hands on her shoulders. She felt a little uncomfortable but didn't want to be rude, so she didn't object. The third man took a picture of them. "Thank you very much. That's a beautiful photograph," the three men said to her. "You're welcome." Philippa smiled, nodded, and told them that she had to go and find her friends. But one of the men stopped her and said, "Beautiful lady, please don't leave. Please, can we take another picture with you by the flower bed in the square? We like you very much." Okay, she replied hesitantly. They spoke so politely and were so warm in their invitation to her that she was too embarrassed to refuse. She followed the three Spaniards to the square. Alex was surprised when he saw Philippa walking to the square with three strangers. He said to Celeste, "Let's go and see what she's doing." There were a lot of people in the stadium square taking photos and saying goodbye to their friends. Philippa and the three men walked to the edge of the square where it was less crowded. "Shall we take the photo here?" Philippa asked. The three Spaniards looked at her, and their hearts started pounding as their eyes scanned her body greedily. She looked into their eyes and finally realized what they were planning to do. Suddenly, one of them grabbed her arm, covered her mouth with his hand, and said in a sinister voice, "Miss, you are beautiful. We're going to take you to the hotel with us, where we're going to show you a good time." The other two men grinned, and one said, "You're going to have 3 Spanish studs at once. Do you know how lucky you are? We're famously amazing lovers." The other said, "Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. In fact, when I get home, I'm going to leave my wife and son. I want to keep this excitement in my life." "Okay, let's get a cab. Baby, we'll take you to the hotel now for a night that you'll never forget," said the first man. The man then covered Philippa's mouth with his hand and pushed her in the direction of a waiting cab. The other two deliberately stood in front of them so no one could see what they were doing. Philippa was so scared that she used all her strength to turn and bite the man's hand, making him scream. She shouted, "Help me! Help me! They wanna..." The man quickly recovered and stopped her screaming by covering her mouth again. When they heard Philippa cry out, a lot of people gathered around. They were shocked when they saw 3 men holding a girl and covering her mouth. They all pointed to the men. One woman asked them, "What are you doing? Why are you covering her mouth?" "Let her go," one man ordered. "What are you doing?" asked another man. The 3 men were surrounded, but they weren't about to give up. One of them said to the onlookers in Spanish, "She's my girlfriend. Mind your own business." A few of the onlookers could speak Spanish, and they translated for the others. However, none of them believed the man. They couldn't understand how he could be treating his girlfriend so roughly. One of them said, "Nonsense! Let her go now! We heard her crying for help." The man replied arrogantly, "I won't let her go. What are you planning to do about it? We're leaving now and you had better not try to stop us." One of the onlookers, holding up her cell phone, pointed to the three men and said, "I recognize them. They're boxers from Spain. This is their Facebook page. There are lots of articles on it saying that they don't like America." One of the onlookers asked, "Why? What's their problem?" The girl looked back at her cell phone and continued, "On Facebook on the 18th, they posted that American people are all corrupt. They said that when they arrived in the country, they felt like they were in the Wild West. On the 22nd, they said that they visited the red light district of DC and that one of the prostitutes followed them until they gave her money. They said that all American women are cheap. On Facebook on the 28th, they said that the streets of America are full of garbage and that it's the dirtiest country in the world. They said that American people are the filthiest of all human beings. On October 4th, they said that American people live on hamburgers, and that's why they're all obese and crazy. Today they said that American men are all impotent, and that before leaving, they should help them out by showing their women what a real man can do." By the time the girl had finished speaking, the crowd of onlookers was enraged. They all glared at the three men and swore at them bitterly. One said, "That's disgusting. How dare they talk about us like that?" "They're here as guests. They shouldn't be talking like that," said another man. "These three scumbags. It's the Olympic Games, and you're attacking women for fun? You're disgusting," yelled another woman. By that time, the crowd had become raucous. One impatient man in his 30s couldn't contain his rage. He rushed at the three men, pointing at them and yelling, "How dare you cause trouble when everyone's just trying to have a nice time? I'll teach you to hold your tongues." Then, he tried to punch one of the Spaniards, but he wasn't tall enough, and his blow missed his opponent's face. He had also forgotten that the other man was a professional boxer. The boxer grabbed the man's fist and hit him with a right hook right in his face. He fell to the ground. His friends quickly helped him up. They had remembered that the three men were professional boxers and didn't dare to try to fight them again. Instead, they surrounded them and refused to let them leave. They pointed and yelled at them. "You scum!" one man shouted. "You only came here today to mess with people. Leave that girl alone," yelled another. The boxers were livid. They pointed to the crowd and cursed in Spanish. One said, "You're a group of cowards. You're too scared to even take on three of us." "Who's going to dare to try to stop us again? We'll fight any of you," shouted another. "You Americans are all cowards compared to us," yelled the third. The three Spaniards wanted to leave. They were keen to get Philippa to the hotel to have fun with her. As they started to drag her out of the square, one of them shouted, "Get out of the way, you American losers. We're going." The circle of onlookers followed the men. They wanted to stop them, but they knew that they couldn't beat three boxers. They were afraid. Alex and the four Moon Girls squeezed through the crowd to see what the commotion was about. Celeste asked, "Mr. Alex, what's going on?" Alex saw a man holding Philippa in his arms and covering her mouth. He could see that Philippa was panicking, so he rushed forward and punched the man's hand. The boxer immediately released his grip, and Alex pulled Philippa into his arms. "Philippa, what's going on?" he asked as he let go of her and stepped back to look at her face. She jumped back into his arms and sobbed. Alex, thank goodness you're here. I was so scared. Those 3 men tried to take me to their hotel. When the 3 men saw Alex holding Philippa, they said angrily in Spanish, "Hey, American boy, give us back our girl." Then they rushed at Alex. Philippa was startled and screamed, "They're coming!" Alex was just about to make a move when 4 figures ran out in front of him. They were the 4 Moon Girls. Celeste shouted at the men, "Don't you dare move. Don't worry, Alex. We're here to protect you." The 3 boxers were startled and stepped back. When they saw it was just 4 pretty girls, however, they smiled sinisterly. One said, "These 4 are just as beautiful as our first prize, and they've come to us by their own choice. We'll show all 4 of them a good time in the hotel tonight." Philippa said anxiously, "Alex, don't let your friends come over here. Those 3 guys are boxers. They'll hurt them." Alex cried out, "Celeste, stop." She smiled back at him and said, "Don't worry, Mr. Alex. We don't need your protection. The 4 of us can take care of these lowlives." He thought back to the guest house and remembered that the 4 girls were martial arts experts. He knew that they could easily beat these 3 men. He was relieved and said to them, "Don't kill them." "As you wish," the 4 Moon Girls answered in unison, and they rushed to attack. The onlookers quickly stepped back a few yards for fear of getting hurt themselves. They were also worried about the 4 girls. Several men were eager to help. They decided to wait and see what happened, but to fight for the girls if they got injured by the 3 boxers. When the 3 boxers saw the 4 girls rushing toward them, they weren't worried at all. Instead, they opened their arms to meet them and thought about what a wonderful opportunity it was to try out some more American girls. They each thought, "Come on, you 4 beautiful ladies. Come to my arms and let me kiss you." In the blink of an eye, the 4 girls had rushed to the 3 men. Without saying a word, they coordinated themselves to attack. Although they were still teenagers, they had practiced martial arts since they were young and were very accomplished fighters. The 3 men, all over 6 feet tall, saw the girls flying at them. They each automatically stepped back and ended up being hit in the most painful parts of their bodies. It hurt more than being hit by other boxers, and they quickly realized that they were not dealing with 4 ordinary teenage girls. They became serious and decided that they needed to use their boxing skills to beat them. The onlookers saw their boxing stances and their muscles rippling in their arms. They were all terrified for the 4 girls. The 4 Moon Girls, however, were not intimidated by the boxers in the slightest. They had every confidence in their martial arts skills to beat them. They knew that they did not need to be afraid of them at all. Celeste walked up to one of the men and punched him hard in the ribs. He screamed and fell to the ground. Celine jumped several yards into the air, and in an advanced karate move, she kicked him hard on the chest. He felt the air being forced out from his lungs as he rolled to the ground. Callisto and Luna attacked the last man together. He tried in vain to punch them, but they evaded his efforts every time. They taunted him and slapped his face repeatedly. He was almost stunned as he saw a beautiful woman pass by him in a blur. Then he felt a sharp pain in his knee, lost his balance, and fell to the ground. In less than 2 minutes, all 3 of the boxers had been knocked to the ground.